I've had the privilege and challenge of addressing climate change for nearly 2 decades in 40 different countries. And that's for governments and as well as corporations and even different institutions, including finance. And when it comes to climate action and reporting, there's really been a rapid increase in companies reporting their climate impacts just in the last 5 years, and particularly in the last 3 years. Most of this increase is pushed by the climate crisis, which is real now. We're getting more evidence that's really saying, okay, now we've really, messed up the planet already. We're at the tail end of averting a real crisis in the future. But it's also pushed by citizens and also investor action, which is forcing governments to have more detailed planning and to enact regulations that support climate action, and enforcing companies to also do as well, including reporting and climate action. In the past, it was mostly energy, transport, and heavy manufacturing companies who accounted for and reported their greenhouse gas emissions, and that's because they were regulated. However, now we see greenhouse gas accounting reporting in many industries, and this includes things from industries from fashion, retail, food, professional services, amongst others. And now this kind of leads to 5 reasons why this is the time to get started with climate reporting. And these reasons fit no matter whether you're a small company, a medium or large size company, even though we obviously focus on SMEs today. The first reason is that 6 out of 10 consumers are placing a value on climate impacts of the goods and services that they buy, according to a study by Enables Us. And a recent study by IBM also found that 4 out of 10 consumers are purpose-driven, which means they make their purchase decisions based on their conscience and not necessarily regarding price. So this is a big driver in terms of why climate action is required, but also why reporting is required, because these consumers want to know what a company is doing in terms of climate action and their reporting of greenhouse gas emissions. The second reason is that sustainable goods and services are actually good business. For example, the same Enables Us study found that 7 out of 10 consumers in Denmark are buying a greater volume of sustainable goods and services than they did 5 years ago. And this is backed up by a new study by NYU Stern Business School, which determined that half of all growth in consumer good market is now from sustainable goods. So that's a really indication of where impact is. And we should say that one of the main drivers that consumers are looking at, and even customers, B2B customers, is this greenhouse gas emissions component. The third reason is that regulations in the EU now require that listed companies report on their climate risks, including greenhouse gas emissions. While this is now being extended into the United States, where the Securities and Exchange Commission has just published a proposal on a similar regulation, which will likely be implemented this year and next year. I should note that the EU also encourages SMEs to do similar reporting, since they know that most of the supply chain is from listed companies. And within the EU, at least, SMEs make up 50% of the economy. So that business-to-business supply chain relationship is really important. The fourth reason why climate reporting is important right now is that consumers and governments understand the concept of value chains and life cycles, like similar to what Thomas had mentioned. This means that they know climate impact does not only come from the store where they're buying an apple, but they also from the companies who supply the goods and services that deliver that apple. And this could be from growing and harvesting, packaging, transport, and waste and disposal. So all those combined is what we call Scope 3 greenhouse gas emissions, which are, of course, heavily influenced by this business-to-business relationship. And in that study by Enables Us, we found that 5 out of 10 SMEs are actually sharing their sustainability data with their B2B customers, or at least their customers are asking for it. And greenhouse gas emissions is on the top of the list of this sustainability information. In addition, I found, for example, last week that a major hotel certification will actually start requiring hotels to report on their greenhouse gas emissions in order to gain the certification from next year. So we can also see that it's not only government regulation, but these private initiatives that really show integrity are also pushing for greenhouse gas emissions, measuring and reporting. Finally, in the fifth reason, why climate reporting is important is that consumers are also your employees. And this is what Thomas mentioned. Employees value climate action as well. And in a study by BPMG and GlobalScan, they found that 6 out of 10 employees are motivated to work for and are loyal to companies that are socially and environmentally responsible. And there's a lot of social media talk in the business community today specifically about this due to the labor crisis and the shortage of qualified labor. These 5 points highlight a strong motivating factor for all companies to start addressing climate action right now. And the foundation for climate action is, of course, transparent climate reporting. And it's the old adage, as Thomas mentioned as well, is you cannot change what you don't measure. So I should add that in this context, the majority of companies' stakeholders are actually watching, as well as a company's competitors. So that competition level is really important, because if you don't actually start reporting on your climate actions right now and your greenhouse gas emissions, your competitors will be, and you'll be left behind in the market. So to round off, there's been a rapid increase in innovation, especially around greenhouse gas accounting and corporate reporting, where the number of, for example, web apps to address greenhouse gas accounting and offsetting solutions have dramatically increased just in the past few years. Innovation has been strengthened by a general increase in know-how as well, which allows for better data and also the reporting of scopes 1, 2, and 3 greenhouse gas emissions. And this has significantly lowered the cost of reporting for companies, particularly for SMEs, so that it's now affordable for that group. So that's what I'm going to round off today.